Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector with my collaborator, Christine Deska, Nonprofit Executive Leadership Roundtable, January 26, 2023. And as we always do with you, I want to find out what's going on with people, what are they working on, what organization they're from, and how maybe can we help each other. So without further ado, let's go to Vicki Elner, followed by Michael Schulman.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Vicki Elner, I sit on the board of directors of New York Statewide Senior Action Council and also their Public Policy Committee. Statewide is a 50-year-old organization, which is a powerhouse as a voice for senior issues. And things that we're focusing on now are, first of all, we have a state and federal agenda that we're looking at for advocacy issues, whether it's fair pay for home care, Medicare for all, New York Health Care Act, that wants to be implemented, or a list that's far too long for me to go into here because they're very aggressive and very active in terms of the advocacy issue, which I've said all the years I've been in the elder care healthcare field, we do more and more with less and less, and pretty soon we do everything with nothing. That's what advocacy is all about out there. I'm a nurse by background. Most of my nursing was done with special needs population, and I'm, as always, thrilled to be here. And that rumor has it, I can say Happy New Year still to everybody. So Happy New Year.
You can. Michael Schulman, followed by Sue, please.
Well, if Tommy said I can say Happy New Year, I'll say Happy New Year. Also, better late than never. Anyway, I gave you a pretty good synopsis of the fund that we established in honor of my son. Our goal this year is to raise $400,000, okay, to send up to almost 300 kids to camp this summer. And we do that through our fundraisers, and it's a very worthwhile endeavor going up to see these kids in camp after they've gone up there for a week or so. It's a lifestyle and a whole life-changing experience. So it's something that we enjoy doing. Sometimes good fortune comes disguised as disaster, and so through our disaster, we try to help kids who so they don't suffer the same consequences as my son did. So that's about our fund.
Michael, just mention the name of the organization one more time for me.
It's the
Esther York.
J. Beagle Memorial Fund. Okay, the sjbnf.org. I put in the chat.
Thank you. Perfect. All right, let's go to Sue, followed by John DiBiase. And Sue's just a new friend of ours. Talk about the networks growing, talk about new relationships, right? That's how we all get here. So Sue, followed by John DiBiase, please.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. I'm very excited to learn from and with you all. I am the founder and director of a prisoner reentry organization, national in scope, called Fair Shake. It is a multi-stakeholder organization, meaning I make sure there are tools and information for employers, families, corrections, in addition to, of course, the incarcerated and the formerly incarcerated, so they can stay connected after release. So I reach in and I stay connected after release. And I'm in Wisconsin, in case you can't tell by my non-accent.
The beauty of a virtual lifestyle, we get to connect with people. If we were doing this in Melville on Long Island, you might not have made the trip, Sue, right?
Correct.
John DiBiase and Lisa B. Lewis after that. You're on mute, my fault. I just clicked you.
Okay, I did it myself, Tom, but that's all right. John DiBiase, former executive director of an agency that served the special needs population. Currently, I'm retired, but I am the producer and host of a show on Nassau Public TV called Disabilities Journal. Lauren, we got to talk. I want you on there. We just moved to Garden City and having a wonderful time. That's my new windows behind me.
Thank you, John. We love you. Appreciate you.
Happy New Year.
Oh, no. Lisa B. Lewis, followed by Paul Rubin.
I don't know. Now I got to start blowing things to say Happy New Year. We'll make it a whole thing. My name is Lisa Lewis, and I am the founder and executive director of Circus Omnium, which is the first fully inclusive, fully diverse, and fully accessible professional arts company in the nation. I founded us in 2020. And the things that I'm most excited about now is that we are about to start on our live tour for spring. We have a show at Capital One Hall in Tysons, Virginia, followed by Concord, New Hampshire, Capital Center for the Arts in Concord, New Hampshire. DC is February 25th. Capital Center is March 2nd. And then we will be at Shea Performing Arts Center in Wayne, New Jersey at William Patterson on March 5th and 6th. And I don't know what else to say. That's it. There's
anything you need right now?
a second brain.
Yeah, well, I hear you.
I think anybody in my role gets that. We've just hired we're 40% people with disabilities on our staff, and we have just brought on 2 people cycle on and off various internships, and we collaborate with any program who would like to collaborate with us. So we've just cycled 2 through amazing interns. We have 1 intern now who is blind, who's stepping his way up into the world of publicity. My phone was ringing at 7:30 this morning.
Well, I love it. But that's
So
what
good for him.
collaboration. That's what we're talking about. Talk about collaboration. You know, I do a lot in the service world trying to get out and do things. And I never had expected that my wife would end up doing some work with an organization, Paul Rubin's organization. And I'm appreciative of everything Paul does, and very happy that my wife and the kids got involved. And I believe, Paul, if I'm not mistaken, Paul followed by Frank Orzo, there's something about Buffalo Wings going on right now.
Yeah, so my name is Paul Rubin. I'm the executive director of Camp Good Morning. It's a 501c that provides free bereavement camp programs for Long Island children coping with the death of a parent or sibling. We currently have, our 3rd annual chicken wing eating challenge at Levitt Town Hall on Saturday, February 4th. We just added BLI, WBLI to lineup, so they're going to be down there providing free music. We've got a lot of pretty heavy hitters in terms of wing donors. We have Fridays and Buffalo Wild Wings and Miller's Ale House and Zorn's. So for those of you who are familiar with any of those names, we have a lot of wings. Looking forward to a great event. And as always, we need wing teams. So actually, one of our campers, their siblings, and appropriately named the Sib Wings, WINGS, are just incredible. Yeah, take a look at. I posted the flyer in the chat, so if you want to take a look at that, that would be great. And good to see you all.
Thank you, Paul. Frank, please introduce yourself, followed by Sean Duclay.
I'm Frank Orzo, co-founder and partner of with Christine Deska of Nonprofit Sector Strategies and Bell's Board. In the interest of time, I'll just defer to my partner to do the introduction. Thanks.
I'm talking, but you can't hear me. Sean Duclay, followed by Amy Fleischer, please.
Hi, I'm Sean Duclay. It's good to see so many of you guys again. I'm the co-founder of this nonprofit called Sail Ahead, and we take wounded veterans sailing as a form of therapy, primarily to help fight PTSD and depression. One of our missions is also to honor and remember our mates, and these are our mates. They're the name tags of over 219 veterans who have taken their lives. So when I started Sail Ahead in 2013, the VA issued figure was 22 veterans who were taking their lives every day. So assuming that's true, which in reality it's way more than that, but assuming that was the number, every 10 days we'd have 210 veterans who die by suicide. So my mission is to use sailing through as a means to fight this cycle. And we have 4 boats, big boats that we use in order to do this. And this year, I'm hoping to, among other things, expand our reach by organizing events in places like Buffalo, Seacliff, and Florida. Big sailing events with yacht clubs to expose veterans to this world of sailing and then try and get them connected with sailors locally.
Thank you, Sean. And I loved having you guys on the show. I just looked back at the show and I had on this like Uncle Sam hat that I was wearing. I happened to watch a video when you and your brother came on.
You were wondering what we got ourselves into on that one.
Yeah. I wonder that every morning when I wake up, what do I get myself into, to be honest with you? Yeah. Amy Fleischer. I think I said Amy was next. If I didn't, Amy, you're next, followed by Melissa.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Amy Fleischer. I'm the Director of Development for Harmony Healthcare Long Island, formerly Long Island FQHC. We're a federally qualified health center in Nassau County. Elmont, Freeport, Hempstead, Oceanside, Roosevelt, and Westbury, and we have 3 school-based programs as well. What that means is that we treat the underserved. We turn no one away based on their ability to pay. 27% of our patients are uninsured, 60% are under the poverty level. We are full service healthcare organization, including dental. We have women, infant, and children's WIC programs, and it goes beyond healthcare. Tommy knows this. You know, we treat the social determinants of health. So we have work with the food banks. We provide clothing and things that people need. So just people shouldn't go without healthcare. They don't have to. They just don't know that there's a place to go.
That's all.
That's what we're here for.
Just make sure everybody, thank you, Amy. Just make sure, Amy, like share your website, share these resources. Please use the chat because, especially with you guys with the new rebrand over there, Amy, people just may not even be aware of who you are. And
yeah, we rebranded in mid-December, so we're still getting the name out there. And we'll be on Tommy's show next month.
yes, you will. Philanthropy in Focus is a show everybody's talking about. It's 102 episodes into, a sales guys talk about like a plan of 5,000. So we're 102 into a plan of 5,000. Melissa, followed by Tammy Ellen McLaughlin.
Good morning, everybody. Melissa Greenberger. I am currently a program officer at Long Island Community Foundation. I joined the foundation about a year ago. Prior to that, I was an attorney at Pro Bono Partnership, so I know some of you through that role. In my current role, I do grant making. So I know everybody hears that. And it's like, oh my God, grant opportunities. We are currently in our first grant cycle. The next set of proposals will be due in April. Our guidelines are on our website, which is licf.org. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. One of the other things that I love doing, like Tommy, love connecting nonprofits. So even if we are unable to fund an organization, I'm happy to connect you with others because collaboration in the nonprofit sector is really key.
100%. Melissa, we love you. I'm so glad to see you on the screen with us.
Thank you. Love seeing you guys.
We're following what you're doing. We see you. We see you out there. We're digging it, really. So Tammy Ellen McLaughlin followed by Allison LaFerlita.
Great. Thank you, Tommy D. Good morning, everyone. Tammy Ellen McLaughlin, Executive Director of Sober St. Patrick's Day. So I'm going to say happy Sober St. Patrick's Day. Mark your calendars. It's coming up. I recognize many of the faces and the names here, so you might have heard me do my little story last year sometime, but we at Sober St. Patrick's Day have a celebration on the day of the New York City St. Patrick's Day Parade that is alcohol-free, family-friendly, and it's just so much fun and so important for the community. And this year we have a new venue, which is very close to Grand Central Terminal. Tommy has been a terrific partner in coaching me, giving me some great ideas about grant making, sponsorship. And that's kind of what I was looking for, was some help on trying to find some new sponsors. And also I would love it if you would sign up for our newsletter. And I will put all of that information in the chat. And thank you so much, Tommy, for the invitation.
Thank you, Tammy, for being here, and thank you for your support. By the way, Tammy, we're going to do a Facebook Live just promoting Sober St. Patrick's Day. So I'm putting that out there to the universe. I did see your note from yesterday. I'm looking forward to doing that. That's going to be fun. All right. So, but please collaborate, collab. That's the whole thing. Allison, followed by Danny Taylor.
Good morning, everybody. I am Allison LaFerlita. I'm the Executive Director with the Nonprofit Resource Hub. I know quite a few of you on the call. For those of you that don't know about the Hub, we connect nonprofits and collaborate with them all the time. We provide services and goods to our nonprofit community. We have vetted members that do provide services. So when our nonprofits are looking for somebody to hire, they know that they're hiring somebody of quality that's not going to rob them. Very important. We also provide a tremendous amount of resources and support, and it's all free to the nonprofit community. We are hosting an event on February 7th at the Long Island Children's Museum, and you are all welcome to come free of charge. I'd love to see you. So please check us out.
That is going to be fun. The Long Island Children's Museum. I love it. Maybe we can make slime.
We're afraid we won't get you out of the bubble machine.
Nah, you know what it is for me? When I was a kid, like my one of my kids was going to the preschool and they make Play-Doh. like homemade Play-Doh. And I just like always, told the teacher, anytime we're gonna make Play-Doh, you gotta let me know, because that's like totally in my zone of brilliance. Danny Taylor, followed by Sherry Prinstein, please.
Hi, my name is Danny Taylor. I'm the co-founder and board chair for the YOLO Strong Foundation. YOLO participates in marathons and 4x4s to raise funds for terminally ill, medically fragile, and special needs children. Recently, we just started a real estate team. So all of the girls from the YOLO Strong Foundation are taking the course, getting certified, and selling homes, and have committed to donating a portion of their proceeds to the YOLO Strong Foundation. We do have a huge influx right now of sensory toys. So if anyone is in need of any sensory toys, we would be happy to help. As long as they're going to special needs children, please feel free to contact me at dtaylor@yolostrong.com. Our website is yolostrong.com, www.yolostrong.com. And also, we could use some help regarding grants. If anyone would be willing to assist us in any way, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
What does YOLO mean?
You only live once.
Yes, you do. That's right. I saw Lisa B. Lewis light up when you talked about those sensory toys. So please take that conversation offline later on. Make sure that happens, because she needs the toys. You got the toys. Let's make a matchmaker. Make me a match. Where did you go, Sherry? Sherry, followed by Sean Slevin, please. Hold it. Just come off mute, Sherry.
Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Sherry Prinstein. I want to thank Scott Horowitz for inviting me to this. But Tommy, I remember meeting you at our golf tournament last year, and Dr. Jeremy from Tigerman, where I work, was on your Philanthropy in Focus not that long ago. So it's a little bit familiar, but a lot of new faces to me. Again, I work at Tigerman. We are a nonprofit school and have other services for those with developmental disabilities and autism. We have an elementary and middle school in Glen Cove. We have a high school in Richmond Hill. We have a group home in Farmingdale. We're opening up our second one in Kings Park within the next year or two. And we have other services, including respite, rehabilitation, all sorts of good things going on. I've been here a little less than a year, so I'm still getting to know the organization itself, but I love meeting new people and networking and sharing ideas and stuff. So very happy to be here.
We're thrilled that you're over at Tigerman. Those are friends of ours. I appreciate that. I thought you were going to reference how I dress when I play golf, with the purple knickers and the whole thing. But since you didn't bring it up, let's not talk about it. Sean, can you say words so I can stop saying words, and then we'll go to Ruth Ann after that.
I don't know if I want to pull you out of that one. It was too vivid a picture.
I'll send you pictures of my golf attire. It's a whole nother thing. I'll send it to you later.
Super. Well, I won't wish everybody a happy new year. I will wish you all a better year than the one we just had. And I'm Sean Slevin with Swim Strong Foundation. We are a not-for-profit whose mission is to reduce unintended drowning and water-based accidents. We are 16 years young, pre-pandemic, having helped more than 10,000 people learn strong swimming skills, which they've taken on into their life to become aquatic professionals, first responders. Really is quite life-changing and affirming, which is fabulous. We've given over $1 million of free swim lessons. And we do have a program for veterans. So Sean Duclay, Let's Talk. And also we have a program called Know, K-N-O-W, Before You Go, which is a classroom-based or business-based program that really looks at water in our daily lives, not related to swimming lessons at all, because our climate is changing so rapidly around us. All of us, whether we are swim skilled or not, need to understand water very, very differently these days and develop a different relationship with it. So we have reached about 18,000 students thus far, hope to double that by the end of this school year, looking for opportunities to get that programming into schools in your neighborhood. My information is in the chat. If you can reach out if there's an interest. And then we're also trying to push legislation. So the last session, we were trying to mandate the training of water safety in New York State schools, again, because we're not even at the tip of the iceberg. What's going to happen in 50 years our kids, our grandkids will have such a different relationship to the water. You and I wouldn't recognize it today. It failed. So we're on round 2 and just waiting to see how that will be developed. And I'll keep you all appraised because I'll be looking for your help for advocacy.
Yeah, do that, Sean, because like you know, the Queen's Chamber goes up to Albany every year for Queen's Day. So I know you've been involved with that. So we'll talk about that. Please keep us in the loop on that. But also, you know, how you just called out Sean and this opportunity that you guys can collaborate, water safety, taking veterans out on the boats, the whole thing sailing. We want to know about that. So bring that back to us and I'll actually say what I'm really thinking. Let me know when you guys are all getting together and I'll just come and bring Italian ices or something. Just like I want to be there. Like I can't help myself. I want to be there when everybody, I try to be everywhere. I got to get a clone. All right. Ruth Ann Gator, followed by Nicole Weingartner. If you can come off of mute. I see you got your camera off. So Ruth Ann and then maybe Nicole.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sorry, it's a morning of technical difficulties, but I'm on. I work for an organization called the Corporate Source. We provide employment opportunities for adults with special needs. We provide outsourcing services, typically in the areas of janitorial, mailroom, courier services, different things like that. But over the past 2 years, we're excited that we've also rolled out an IT training program for adults with special needs to give them the opportunity for training towards an A+ certification and then hopefully finding an entry-level job in the IT field. So I'm reaching out to everyone here to let them know that we just had a pilot group that's going to be graduating at the end of February. So, you know, certainly we're looking for businesses and opportunities for these folks who, you know, are just coming off of a certification and are going to be looking for employment. I will also put information out in the chat as I see everyone else's. We're also rolling out a newsletter called A Better Workplace to really talk about best practices for a more inclusive workforce for individuals with disabilities. So would love to include, you know, anyone on this call that would like to receive that. I'll put in my information, and if you could just connect with me and I'd be happy to put you on that list for our newsletter.
Thank you. Let's do that. Again, like that's a proper way to do the thing about the newsletter, everybody. Please, not just here, in your entire world, don't just add people to your newsletter. Say, hey, I mean, I only have like 78 people on my newsletter because I asked people, would you mind? Can I get you on my newsletter? Because it's the right thing to do because we all have very busy inboxes. So, but I want to receive your newsletter. So I'm saying right here, it's being recorded. Ruth Ann, please get me your newsletter. But if you want it from send her a note. Nicole put a little note in the chat. Nicole, it's all good. I get it. We're all doing multiple things. You know, she is a lobbyist specializing in Long Island nonprofits. Those are who we are. Yes. Go ahead.
Tommy,
yes.
Might this be a good opportunity to also plug our session for next month? We're finally bringing some really amazing advocacy resources to the table. This is a long overdue topic.
Please introduce yourself, say who you are, miss, and then you can say the information, okay? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Good morning to the new folks. I'm Christine Deska, Tommy's partner in crime. As he said, we're basically like siblings at this point, running this roundtable family group for over 3 years. This is one of my favorite meetings, despite the timing, because I'm not a morning person. And typically, I am also doing my toddler drop off at this time, but I rearranged my schedule. So Nicole, I'm right there with you. And I think I see Nicole posting frequently in my Astoria Moms group. So I'm extremely excited to see her as part of this family. I can't wait to hear how you found us, Nicole. But we are bringing some of your colleagues from probably a competing firm to the table next month for the first time, but open to more along the lines of advocacy. So we're bringing some folks in from Mercury who are going to be talking about strategies around polling and really getting what you need from your stakeholders. A really kind of interesting topic area. And so we'll give you more information about that, but mark your calendars. I believe Tommy's at February 23rd next month, putting you on the spot. It's always the third Thursday.
Fourth
Thursday?
It is February 23rd. It'll be Jake Delemmy. I had it and then I looked at the date.
Delamani,
Tommy D. Delamani, that says through the relationship with our buddy Greg Levine over there. So thank you to them both and excited about it. And I will kind of, since we're doing that, I'll tip my hat. Andrea Cantor, who was a big time banking professional in the nonprofit space, will be with us in March and on the hot seat, as they say. I don't know how hot the seat really is here. I mean, it's all love, but she'll be the one we'll be talking to. Sarah, I don't know if you can come off mute and introduce yourself. If not, I know Scott's in transit, but Scott's.
I have Sarah. Sarah, I want to introduce. She's in the middle of a doctor's appointment, but was so excited to join. Sarah just told me how to phonetically pronounce her name, Goyanai, a proud Albanian immigrant. She is a VP of sales at a fantastic company that works in commercial real estate and union contracting. She is here, everyone, because she is interested in potentially putting her skills to work as a board member of a fantastic nonprofit organization, and she is passionate about a myriad of social issues. She is a rock star, and we go back many years to while we were both waitressing and working in politics and running around. And so I'm so excited Sarah could join. Hopefully she'll be a staple member, and whoever might be in the nonprofit luckiest to get her as a volunteer or more, she'll put her information in the chat. And welcome, Sarah. Thanks for multitasking.
It's too funny. Like, I just wish there were nonprofits looking for board members, Christine. It's sorry, Sarah, we wish we could have helped you out with that. Sorry. I'm trying.
I told her to be prepared for the onslaught,
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you might need to change your phone number. All right, let's get this going. Let's get into this. I think as I look at my screen, please raise your hand if I missed you, but I don't think I missed anybody. Scott Horowitz, I know, is in transit. He's a board member over at Tigerman. I think we got everybody else. So, all right. So at this point in the show, I go back, I leave, I go back to sleep. Christine takes over the show from here on out. What happens now is Christine and our friend Lauren Marzo are going to have a conversation. The conversation you've all known about, why you're here. Lauren is a friend. Lauren, you're one of my buds, man. You're one of my favorite people, honestly. I love hanging out, love talking to you. And you've done this for us before. We had a dynamic duo of development, you and Linda Berman, formerly of the Corporate Source back in the day. So, and that was like back in a real world, like in a real room with real people and real food, like not on a screen. And happy to have you here. But Christine's going to bring you into the conversation. I just want to say this. I'm going to look at my notes, and I'm basically going to just read some of them. Christine Deska is the co-founder of Nonprofit Sector Strategies, which is a public benefit corporation dedicated to helping nonprofits maximize their mission impact. NSS, Nonprofit Sector Strategies, provides strategic planning and board management services at small and medium-sized nonprofit organizations. They have an incredible board portal that I'm a big fan of, and I think 3 of the organizations that I sit on the board of, I know there's a bunch of logins I have, or I log into one and I see a bunch of nonprofits in there that I'm on the board of. So super excited to be back in the saddle and get these meetings going. At this point, Christine, I want you to take it away, and you and Lauren get the conversation going. And we're open for Q&A throughout. There's very freestyle sort of conversation, but if Lauren, you have access to share screen, because I understand that might have been a consideration here. Christine, take it away.
Sure. Good morning, Lauren. Thank you so much for joining us. Lauren has been a personal friend of mine now for over 4 years, because I've been lucky enough to work with the Viscardi Center and the dynamic leadership team that they have, of which Lauren is a part of as their Chief Development Officer, but her background is much more extensive than that. And I know we all come to these meetings each month, and there's always a burning fundraising question lingering. There's always a strategy question we might want answered, and this is the morning. So I encourage you to put those questions in the chat. Lauren is such a hard worker that she put together a special deck just for our group. So she's going to take a few minutes and kind of go through some of these really interesting points around fundraising and insights for this year, and how things have evolved since the pandemic, and what has stayed the same, what is changing. There's so much and so many facets of development. And Lauren, welcome back to the roundtable.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Happy New Year, as we're all saying still. And I'm really pleased to be here. It was very different last time being in person, but I've gotten used to this, as I'm sure you all have too. In some ways it's easier. You don't have to travel somewhere. You can be at home. Maybe you're in your sweatpants still. I'm here in the office. We actually came back to work only a few months after the pandemic started, because we had to reopen our programs. We had to reopen our school. If some of you don't know about the Viscardi Center, we are actually 3 nonprofits in one under the Viscardi Center umbrella. One of our nonprofits is the Henry Viscardi School, and that serves children with severe physical disabilities and medical needs. And then we also have our adult programs and youth transition programs. That's on the Abilities Inc. side. And then we also operate under the Viscardi Center a number of new programs like our digital accessibility services and entrepreneurship program. So we serve people with disabilities at all ages, all types of disabilities. We've been around over 70 years, and I've been here almost exactly 11 years. So I'm really proud to be here. I'm proud to be a part of this group. I love working with Tommy and Christine and Frank. Hi, Frank. And I look forward to working with many of you. I'm open to questions throughout the chat that we're having today, and I'm open to connecting with you after the fact if you had any further questions or want to collaborate on anything. And I see a lot of people from the disability world here, so we'd love to collaborate. So John, definitely with your your program that you run, and also a lot of others here today, that I think there's really great ways that we could partner. I know Tommy will be very happy. He'll show up at our meeting, and hopefully we can get more done for the people that we serve. So I think I can share my screen. I'm just going to run through some slides. It's really only 12 slides. And the reason I like doing PowerPoints is it keeps me on track, because I will definitely go off on tangents, and I don't want to do that today with limited time. And I also just want to make sure, for your sake, if you want to take notes, it's all kind of right on there on the screen. So it's easier for you to kind of follow along. So let me see if I can get this pulled up. Okay. And let me make it a slideshow.
Looks good.
Yeah. All right. I'm trying to make it look nicer. Is that good? Can everyone see that it's a slideshow? Okay, great.
Yep.
All right. So, based on the topic I was given, I'm trying to make this about looking ahead to 2023, which we're all doing. I mean, it's still January. We have, most of the year ahead of us. A lot has changed in fundraising in the last few years. I really had to join a lot of webinars, a lot of, talks that people are having on different topics. I like to follow AFP. Our consultants, DCS, they're our fundraising consultant that we work with. They've had a lot of great webinars and different, information, white papers that they share. I encourage all of you to do the same. If you can just sign up for newsletters, daily emails, weekly emails from various nonprofit consultants, fundraising consultants, that really does help, because they're always willing to share free information, which I think is great. So a lot of what I'm putting in this presentation is what I've learned along the way. I've been in fundraising for 25 years, but definitely it's the last few years where I've really had to sort of reinvent how I do a lot of what I do. So I'm trying to encapsulate a lot of that in today's presentation. Let me see if I could advance. Okay, overview of development. Now this is really for those who are just starting out, or those who maybe they're not in development. Their primary role might be executive director, they're the founder, but maybe they want to do a little bit more development work. So this is just to explain in general what development is. And it's really very actually complex and all encompassing. There's a lot that development can be, depending on your nonprofit. You might be interested in just raising unrestricted annual support. You might be interested in doing a large scale multi-year campaign for a big project, like if you're building a building. I know Chaminade people know all about that. Hospitals and universities know all about that. For the average kind of small to mid-sized nonprofit, you're probably looking at, just enhancing your programs. Maybe you have some capital needs. You probably don't have an endowment yet, but fundraising is for all of these things. And it can come from individuals, corporations, and foundations. So always keep that in mind. There are various funders out there. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I would say, though, that based on research, you hear this in the Giving USA report every single year, the majority of support does come from individuals. It's about 80%. So you really do want to focus a lot of your time on individual donors. Now, corporations, foundations, even though that's only accounting for 5% and 15% respectively, 5% corporations, 15% foundations. Those are all made up of individuals as well. So don't forget that, you know, it's about the relationships. You really need to just constantly be building relationships with potential funders and existing funders. So how do you solicit funds from these funders? Personal asks for major gifts and planned gifts. It really is the most effective, but of course you need to build those relationships first. So a lot of nonprofits just starting out wouldn't have these major donors in their constituent pool. But, you know, you have to start somewhere. You have to start maybe with some people, you know, associated with your organization. Maybe they've been served by you. Maybe their family member has been served by you. But, you know, it's just about building that list and building those relationships. Grant proposals, same way. You can't just approach a foundation that doesn't know you. And I know we have Long Island Community Foundation on the call today. We get grants from them, but it took a while, you know, to really build that relationship and find the right ask for that foundation. Getting a door opened for you by a board member or someone else really does help. It's better than a cold call or a cold proposal to, you know, an individual or a foundation. Direct mail is one way to start. Email campaigns, I mean, that's just a, you know, you kind of blanket your database, anyone you know, and that's how you're going to build your base of support if you're just starting out. For those established nonprofits, it's just recurring gifts. You know, it's something that you just need to keep going while there's still people giving that way. It does seem like the trends are leaning away from direct mail, but I think we still have another good 15, 20 years of it. And email campaigns are still going strong. So that's always a good way to raise money and pretty affordable. You know, you just need to have an email list. Special events, not affordable. Definitely the highest cost of any fundraising effort that you can have, but it brings in people, it brings in money. There is a value to having special events. And then last here, social media, you know, that's something that's also very easy to get into, but you do need a plan for it. And peer-to-peer, you know, you can do that through social media, like Facebook fundraisers. You can have people, you know, kind of reach out to their friends if they're doing the marathon, something like that. So there's a lot of different things that you could do with social media and peer-to-peer. I'm not going to get too much into it, but you can just do your own research. There's a lot of ways that you could fundraise in those ways. And I always want to make this point because when I was starting out, I wasn't really even sure, you know, where to start. And somebody gave me a book about fundraising being an art. But as I built my career, I noticed that, you know, yes, it is an art. You have to know how to talk to people, be very personable, be very passionate in your storytelling. You have to be good with people. That's all extremely important. I don't know any fundraisers who are extremely introverted and shy. You have to be a little bit more extroverted, but there's a science behind fundraising as well. You can't just go about it willy-nilly, you know, just putting all your creative juices into it. Yes, that's great, but you do need strategies, you do need tactics, you need a plan. So a lot of what goes into, you know, the behind the scenes in fundraising is having a database, being able to track your relationships and your donor touch points, an annual plan. All of those things are extremely necessary. If you're a one-person shop, you kind of need to do it all. But as you grow, or if you have a shop of like 3 or 4 people, you probably would have a person doing a lot of that behind the scenes tracking, database management, all of that. But, you know, just in general, it's an art and a science. And I think people need to realize that it's, you know, you kind of need the right brain and the left brain. And for a development office to really function well, like I said, there's the annual plan. You need to have goals. This is really important. When I first started out, I remember my goal was to raise $400,000 a year from my 200 prospects that I was working with. This was at Fordham. And I couldn't believe I had to do that. But, you know, over time it became easy. And it's nice that I had a goal, because if you don't have goals, if your goal is just, you know, we want to raise money this year, you're not really going to be as successful as if you know, if you set, I heard someone say they had a goal of raising 400,000. So it's interesting. I had that same goal when I started out, and, you know, it's good because then you work towards that and you come up with tactics on how you're going to reach that goal. And then you can keep your team focused, your volunteers focused, anyone who's working with you, your board. I think people really appreciate having goals and deadlines. And if anyone has questions along the way, please feel free to interrupt me. So there's data management, and so all this like really boring stuff, it does have to kind of go, into the success of your development shop. Tracking, gift acknowledgement, that's actually a law. You really can't get around that. If it's a $250 gift or more, the IRS regulates this. You have to send a tax receipt, but make it a really nice, thoughtful letter. Make it, very personal to that donor, and, they'll be sure to give again. You have to steward your donors. You have to make sure they know what you're doing with their money, that they feel special, that they are staying involved with your nonprofit. So multi-channel fundraising, I want to discuss this briefly, but it's going to be kind of throughout this presentation. There's really no one way, as I said. You can't just use Facebook. You can't, just use direct mail. You can't just try to seek out grants. You really need to have, a very diverse portfolio of giving opportunities and donors, and you need to reach them in many different ways. You have to have a lot of touch points. People are going to forget about you and your nonprofit if you're not in front of them. It's like advertising. You need a number of different ads to kind of finally reach a potential consumer. So what we do, and I found this to work really well, because we tend to retain our donors, and we have well over 1,500 donors that we retain on an annual basis. We do daily posts. Now, I have another person that does this. If you're a one-person shop, this might be a little difficult, but it's probably something that's manageable if you're familiar with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Some people are getting to TikTok now. I'm not in that world yet. But these daily posts, and there could be a theme. You can do Mondays with one theme, Tuesdays is a different theme. You can do Throwback Thursdays, that kind of thing. Just keep people informed. And pictures and videos are always the best thing to post on social media. So that's one strategy, but daily, or maybe even a couple times a week if you can't manage daily. Weekly, bi-monthly emails, either whatever you can manage. That's just another touch point. It doesn't have to be an ask. It could just be a little program update, a little story, a little, something where your donors are hearing about what you're doing. Quarterly direct mail letters or newsletters or both. Another touch point, we have a donor, one of our biggest donors, who loves our newsletter. He looks forward to getting our newsletter every quarter, and it's a lot put together. It's like a 4-page spread kind of thing, and it's not, it's not inexpensive either. But he says we're one of the only nonprofits that sends him a newsletter, and it keeps him informed, and he's still giving. Direct mail, also expensive, but you can do it in-house if you have a printer, if you have people who can stuff your envelopes. It's still an effective way to fundraise. You're not going to get the big bucks. You're going to get we get dollar bills, literally dollar bills come back in the mail to us, but it does add up. And these are donors that could be potential major giving donors or even planned giving donors. A lot of them are older. I don't mean to generalize, but the direct mail typical donor is probably over 70 or 80, and you never know, they could leave you in their will. So it's always good to keep them involved. Text messages, there's a cost to that, but it's, I would say $3,000 a year. But if you have a lot of cell phones, a lot of our younger donors, that's how they're communicating. So that might be something to try out or think about, but there is a cost involved. Peer-to-peer campaigns. I've done these numerous times in my career. Some are more effective than others. I think things like the marathon or bike-a-thon or bowl-a-thon, perfect for a peer-to-peer campaign. And if you're focused on a very specific or time-sensitive need, like you need to raise money for X, you could rally people around that. That's really very effective. If it's much more general, like we're just trying to raise money for our organization, might not be as effective. But if you have a great group of supporters that really just want to reach out to their friends and family, give them an opportunity to do that. help them start some kind of peer-to-peer campaign. It could even be done on Facebook. People do those birthday fundraisers. That is a peer-to-peer campaign. So you can encourage that. It might only raise a couple of $100s a month, but that's something. And then it's getting more people involved with your organization. So prioritizing is key, because I just discussed a lot of things that you can do, but how are you going to get that all done? You might not be able to, unless you have a team. You might have 5 or 6 people that you work with. You might have some volunteers that are willing to put some time into certain development efforts. But in general, you do need to prioritize and try to get the biggest bang for your buck. So when you look at where your dollars are coming from, in general, 80% of funds come from 20% of your donors. And that means you have maybe some wealthier donors that are making the 4-figure, 5-figure gifts, 6-figure gifts. And then you have the ones sending you the dollar bill in the mail. Now you could still have touch points with all of them. They're all people that you want to keep in your network. But you do need to kind of look at what's bringing in the best return on investment and focus your energy more on that. So looking at what is return on investment, revenue over expense, what is the cost to raise $1 per initiative, expense over revenue. So it's a very simple formula. They're just really the flip side of each other. So you can look at either one. I like to look at both, but the cost to raise $1 is probably what most people will understand a little bit more if you're speaking to your board members or donors or executive director. Major gifts, by a long shot is the best way to raise money. But if you're not quite there yet, you can build to it and start with, some direct mail, which, has a pretty good return on investment and cost to raise $1. Events typically do not. They are very expensive to run. You have your catering costs. You have your, other vendors that you need to hire, maybe a venue. It's really quite costly, but it has, a way of bringing in people, bringing in money. So they're worth doing, but you really need to evaluate if the cost to raise $1 is over 50 cents, it's really not worth doing. It should be well under 50 cents. 50 cents is kind of like the cap. So you should really take a look at everything you're doing in development, analyze it, and make sure it's working for you, and then prioritize the ones with the best return on investment. Any questions on that? Because I know this gets into more math, and I'm not the best. I have to use a lot of formulas in Excel to figure all this stuff out, but it's useful. Keep an Excel spreadsheet on all this. It's useful to kind of look at and share with others.
Lauren, this is Christine. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Christine.
I just wanted to echo kind of some of the points that you're making, because I think it's easy for many of us, and I asked a question in the chat, how many folks are on, your development teams. Many times we have a really broad range of size in terms of organizations that join us. And, it's just like with any other planning process, and Lauren is reinforcing this, you really have to think and prioritize what's best for your organization. Many of our smaller organizations we know cannot tackle every one of these tactics at once, but I hope that Lauren is planting some seeds in terms of what you might be doing that's working, where you want to do more, and what you might want to nix that could be just a time suck for your organization. Just as an example, we work with an animal welfare organization, and they're really struggling to bring in enough funds. And they kind of casually mention, oh, we actually have these 10 donors. We just send them direct mail, and they're giving us, the highest donations out of the rest of our donor pool. And I said, well, have you called them? Have you really tried to develop a deeper relationship with these specific folks who are giving, and you've already made this point, and I know you'll go into it more, but, what is right in front of you, and where can you really start to foster relationships with folks who have the potential to give more, where your message has already resonated. I think we have a question in the chat. Thanks, Danny. Lauren, Danny's asking if you could repeat the calculation.
Let me go back.
Bring you back to your math. Thanks, Danny.
And I share this, or Christine could share this entire presentation afterwards. But revenue over expense is the return on investment, and it's a percentage. It looks like a very large number, but basically it's the flip side of cost to raise $1, which is expense over revenue. So that ends up being a dollar figure, or really in cents. It should never be over $1. It should never cost you more than $1 to raise $1. But it's a good way of looking at it, because I know that I've been at organizations, my previous organization, they were running a luncheon that, you know, once they looked at the numbers, they were just breaking even. They were not making any money. This event had been going on for 25 years. It had once made money, but it was no longer really generating a lot of revenue or even attendees. So they converted it to more of a direct mail campaign. They took all of the donors for that luncheon and they sent them a really heartfelt letter, and they made a lot of phone calls as well, but they kept a lot of those donors giving without the event, because the event just wasn't, you know, really effective anymore. So that's one way to do it. If you need to nix an event, if you do it, you still have to try to convert those donors into a different type of donor, direct mail, major gifts. You know, maybe there's a different event that they could attend. So again, you write down the formulas, but I could also send this out after the fact. And it's just, you know, keep a spreadsheet, as I said, because then you can kind of keep tracking things over time. And
Hey, Lauren, Danny asked a follow-up question, and then also Sean has a good question I think you can tackle before we move. Danny asked, what would you say is a good ROI ratio? Could you reiterate that point?
Right. So, you know, a major gifts has the best ROI. There's really no plan giving maybe, but plan giving, you do have to do a lot of marketing. I'll tell you what major gifts, like what's included in the expense, so you can understand how I get to the ROI. It's really just the staff salary. You know, you might have one person and that person might be doing a lot of other things. So it might not even be 100% of their salary. It's just their time. And it also might be, yeah, you take someone out to lunch, you know, that's $100 expense. Maybe you do that once or twice. You know, maybe it's coffee, a lunch. Maybe you don't even pay for food in one meeting. Maybe you're just meeting at their office. You might need a few different meetings with that person to generate a, let's say, $50,000 gift or $100,000 gift. Major gifts start around $10,000. So you didn't put a lot of effort in. You spent a couple $100 and you got a $50,000 gift. But obviously I'm calculating all the major gifts and all of the expenses together. And usually you're really getting a great return because you're not spending a lot of money. You're not even spending a lot of time. You know, it's a couple of lunches, a couple of meetings with that one person. And then over time, that one $50,000 donor could turn into a $500,000 donor. You know, if you keep cultivating that relationship, you have to start somewhere. Maybe someone in your direct mail pool gives you $100 gift, and that's kind of high, you know, for direct mail, or maybe it's $250. It's something that kind of, you know, gets your attention. Call that person up. That person could possibly be a major donor in the future. Start to get to know them. I had a woman that sent in a $1,000 check once, and you know, it sparked my attention. I called her up. She ended up donating $1 million in her will. But I wouldn't have ever really gotten to that point with her if I hadn't called her up and went to go have lunch with her. So it's like this saying, you never know. I think we say that a lot in the nonprofit world. You never know. You just have to, you know, kind of put yourself out there and give it a try. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but the ROI is really like expenses, hard expenses, like not really staff time. It's hard to calculate that, but you could put staff salaries, you know, actual lunches that you paid for, travel expenses. Direct mail would be the printing, the postage, if you're paying a mail house. And in events, it's a lot. It's the caterer, it's the venue, it's a DJ, whatever you're doing to hold that event. And then the revenue is the gross revenue. It's not the net. It's, you know, you brought in $100,000. That's great. But if you spent $50,000, that's pretty good, but you want to get better than that. You maybe want to spend less, try to raise more, obviously. So I hope that answers the question. Was there another question from Sean?
There was. And so Paul asked a quick follow-up. What is considered a major gift? I thought I heard you say 10,000 or more would be your threshold. Is that right?
Yeah, for maybe a mid to larger size nonprofit, but a smaller nonprofit, I could see $1,000 being kind of the very like entry level start for a major donor. you want to do some research. There's a lot of public information out there, especially about real estate. You might even be able to see what the person does. Kind of look them up on LinkedIn. If the person looks like they have potential, call them up, go see them, try to get a meeting with them. And that $1,000 donor, could be 5 or 10,000 within a year. So, I think it depends on your nonprofit, what you would consider a major gift. But
Oh, Mr. Gordon, this is Mike Schulman. How are you from the Scott J. Beagle Memorial?
Hi, Mike.
We're good.
Okay. So really it does depend on your total budget and kind of where you're at. Like if you have a very small nonprofit where your budget is 200,000, I would say maybe even want to start at 500, 1,000, something like that. So I hope that
Thanks,
answers.
Lauren.
Yep.
Sean's question, which is tied into a tactic you mentioned, you could either answer it now or as you go on. And then Tommy, believe it or not, has a question. Should we let him pipe in again? We'll see.
Tommy, you're not
here.
later.
Sean's question is a good one. Some people keep a contact or donor on their CRM forever, whether or not they are active, donating, or volunteering. When do you advise removing them from your list when they are no longer responding? I have a thought on this, but what's yours, Lauren?
That's interesting because we have a lot of lapsed donors that, I feel like I probably give them, I don't know, maybe 3 phone calls, maybe up to 5 letters or touch points, whether I'm, sending them an email, a letter. If I'm really not getting a response after all those tries, I can keep them on the direct mail list. There's no harm in that. You're not really spending too much money, a couple cents every time you mail to them. But yeah, to really spend a lot of time on them is probably not worth it. Now, you could also try to connect with them in a different way. Maybe one of your board members or other donors is friendly with them. You might try to work with that person to kind of get back in with them. But again, don't spend too much time unless this is like somebody who can give you $1 million. But eventually, you just really have to give up. Maybe they've moved on. Maybe they're just not interested. Maybe someone did something to offend them and you can't control that. But I don't know if that answers. I think it really depends on the size of the donor and, how much they meant to your organization. Some people are worth trying to keep. Some people, I don't think it's really worth it. Now, Christine, what was your thought?
Well, I was thinking first in the email context, let someone unsubscribe because you're not spending any dollars. But of course, if you're talking direct mail, it's exactly how you described it, Lauren, really thinking about the worst and protecting your time, right? This is really about prioritizing where you're getting the best ROI in your strategy. So I hope that after this morning's conversation, all of us will have a better sense of, are we really spending our time most wisely when it comes to our overall development strategy?
Right. Now, Tommy, are you going to
Tommy, did you want to jump in with your quick question?
Yeah, kind of a quick question, and then just a couple points that I want to just throw out there from the perspective of like networking and connecting, which is kind of where I hang out. I'd leverage LinkedIn. So if you're courting a prospective donor and things like that, to get in there, who are they connected to, that sort of thing, and then leverage your relationships. In my opinion, business people who have something to sell, a service or a product, or are out there in the network looking to build and develop relationships. I think as development people and or executive director folks, we need to have the same mentality and go out there, network, and not network just as, hey, I'm a nonprofit person, business person, donate to us and give us money, but how can I, as director of development, be supportive to you, business person, and make connections for you? And I think when there's that mindset of that giver's gain, that reciprocity from the sector, from the nonprofit sector to business people, well, now we're all friends. Now we're all partners. Now we're looking to help each other out. So I just wanted to leave those points out there. And then real quick, Lauren, just because we do that thing, we probably shouldn't do that thing, or maybe we shouldn't do that thing, to your point about not doing an event anymore. That's a touchy subject because, like you said, and I've spoken to you about other topics, like certain events, people who are, the veteran donors and maybe big ticket donors really like the event. when do you cut bait, so to speak? When do you do you do an analysis on an annual basis and go, ooh, this hasn't been a winner for a little while now. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that event that I referenced, that luncheon, it was 25 years old. We did an analysis of the full 25 years, the whole lifespan. We saw that it peaked at 15 years, and then it was a steady decline for 10 years. The ROI was definitely not good. We were spending almost as much as we were bringing in, and the attendance had dropped. So I would think if you look, you probably can't base it on 1 year or 2 years. It needs to be a steady trend of decline, before you would kind of decide. It's a tough decision. As you said, you have those veteran donors. You can try to work with those donors over time. Don't do this overnight. This is a process. They will understand once you show them those numbers. These are probably savvy people. If they're good donors, they know that it wouldn't make sense in a business perspective to keep running that event. So you can convert them to another event, or just, work with them on, maybe they could be a major donor to one of your programs. Bring them in, show them the program, make them feel, very, important and critical to that program. And I bet you can keep them, and they won't be as upset that the event is gone, because they'll see, that they're still making a huge impact at your organization.
Yeah. I think without the data, none of this matters, right? You have to have the data. You have to do that assessment. You maybe you're not going to act upon 1 or 2 years data, but on that 4th or 5th year of seeing the trend going a certain way. But I get it goes back to having the data. It makes me think of our friend Eileen Minogue talk about one source of truth. When she talked about using Salesforce.com and tracking all that stuff for her, we had her at one of these roundtables. But it's about having that data. And, even if you're a small organization, right, Christine, from a strategic planning perspective, there's data there. You can assess and look at that stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
there's always a place to start and always a way to set goals.
Absolutely. And Excel. I mean, most people have access to Excel, or, whatever it's called in Google. It's, it's Sheets or whatever. It's so easy. Just put in, input what you're raising, input what you're spending, do the calculation. It's, and then you can show other people who are your stakeholders, in case they're not really sure why you're making some of these decisions, you can show them, black and white proof. And, Tommy mentioned Salesforce. Yes, that's actually a great tool. I would recommend that, because I think they still do the free nonprofit licenses. So you can start your database that way. And Tommy also mentioned LinkedIn and networking. So LinkedIn is a great way to do it for free, but they also started a paid service. I just found out about this last week, where you could pay for sort of like prospect leads. It's a nonprofit tool. I don't know how much it costs. I haven't really looked into it yet, but LinkedIn is definitely a great source for researching, potential prospects, networking with people, and networking face-to-face. Now that we're back, to face-to-face, networking events, I encourage you to go to them. It's a great way to meet people. And as Tommy said, it's about finding ways to sort of work together in partnership without just asking them for money. That's not what it's all about. It's really about building these relationships, and it'll eventually lead to money. I guarantee it, but you can't start with an ask. Really does have to kind of, grow over time, just like any relationship. You don't ask someone to marry you on the first date, right? You just, you build up to that. So, that brings me into like the work smarter, not harder. It is worth your time to communicate with these top 25 to 50 people. Maybe you only have a handful of people to start. Those are the people you want to spend your time with. They will also open doors to other donors. So it's really worth the effort. You call them, it could just be thanking them for their gift, not asking them for anything, just thanking them for their gift. Maybe you invite them in to see your program, the impact of their gift. Send them a birthday card, as long as that's appropriate. Like if you shouldn't know their birthday, if they're touchy about that, don't send it. But just, feel them out. If you have a really close relationship, almost a friendly relationship, definitely call them on their birthday or send them a card, and just constantly keep them updated. So those are your best friends. Those are the people you need to just, build that relationship with over time. When it comes time to ask them for a gift, it's not going to be hard, because you are almost almost like friends, you know, like I could call Tommy up today and ask him for something, and it wouldn't be hard at all. You know, I won't, don't worry. But, you know, that's what I'm talking about. You're building these relationships that are going to, you know, really help you in so many different ways that you might not even expect. The events are not going to get you to the same place, but they will bring in people. So like I said, really analyze if they're working or not, and be creative about them. I'll get to that later. But, you know, another thing about multi-channel fundraising that I want to, you know, make sure I, you know, really hone in on is, you know, what people seem to respond to are needs, like very specific needs. So if you want to do something on Facebook or direct mail, find a really great story, have photos and videos around that story, testimonials, and focus on that. Keep that story going. You know, make sure it's on Facebook, Twitter, your direct mail, your emails, maybe your website. Like, make sure that people are, you know, seeing that story in various ways. And it's going to resonate with people, especially if it's a really compelling story. And they'll keep thinking about it, and they'll tell their friends, I just saw this great post on Facebook, this, you know, a kid's life was saved, you know, and they'll share it with people. So it's like creating an ad campaign basically, but it's, you know, it's your story, it's your nonprofit story, and you're getting it out there in a lot of different ways. That's a good use of time because it's very targeted, it's very specific, and I do think it's very effective. So always be asking yourself, will this effort bring in more money and supporters? Will this effort have a good return on investment? If you are answering no to any of that, you know, don't do it. Move on to something that is working. Okay. And this really does tie into what I was saying about those top donors, but really all donors. What is going to get you through and your nonprofit through this recession or the, you know, this inflation period that we're going through is retaining your donors. You don't want to spend money to acquire new donors. It is a very high cost, and that could be renting a list. You know, it might cost you $500, $1,000. You're renting a list, and you get no new donors out of that. I've tried it. It doesn't really work. But if you have a good donor base, you know, maybe you have 50 donors, 100 donors, maybe you have 1,000 donors. You want to keep all of them. You don't want any of them to go away. So how do you keep them? It's about the communication. It's about, you know, the personalization does work. Write a personal note on their acknowledgement letters. Pretty easy to do. Just a little like, thank you. You know, your support means so much to us. Call the larger donors personally. Make it about them. How what they did helped your, you know, those that you serve, your organization. Show them that impact. Give them those regular program updates. This is for all your donors, but you're going to do it in different ways. It's going to be much more high touch with your bigger donors. You're going to call them, you know, you're going to send them reports. But for your $1 donors, you know, it could just be sort of an annual report. You send something out on an annual basis just to let everybody know what's going on. And always be asking, what can I do today to make our donors feel that they're part of our mission? You can do it on a daily basis in very small ways. So, you know, definitely keep your donors close in this time that we're living in right now, where they're easily distracted, easily pulled into different charities. They need to keep you top of mind. Maximize your board members. If you want to grow your pool, if you want to open doors, your board members are really your best asset. Now, not all board members are the best board members, so you also need to analyze what they're doing. And Christine knows this really well. We have this report card that we have here. We kind of look at how the board members are participating. We did a survey to the board members a while back before COVID. Should probably, you know, look at that again, because sometimes we're not maximizing our board members. Sometimes they're kind of falling off. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. You could get them to come back with the right conversation, but give them things that are really meaningful to do, that they're comfortable with. A lot of board members are not really comfortable fundraising, but they might be comfortable just bringing in a friend for a tour or having their friend join, you know, for a lunch to learn more about your organization. Maybe you give them a comp ticket to bring a friend to an event, you know, a friend that could be useful. They could hold a Facebook fundraiser. We just had a board member do that for us a couple months ago. They could recommend a foundation and help open the door to that foundation. Again, it's like not a lot for them, you know, it's not a lot of time for them to do any of these things really, but it could bring them closer to your organization and then open these doors as well. So these are just some things that board members can do. I mean, I always say the easiest thing is, let's say you need to get, you know, some new partners. They're associated with other nonprofits. They could put the two of you together. You know, it's not maybe a fundraising idea, but it's a way to bring that board member closer and maybe bring in some strategic partners. So always be asking, are board members being given opportunities to be fully involved in our organization's success? Like, are you letting them just come to meetings and not do anything else? Or are you giving them these opportunities to get more involved and to bring more resources to your organization? A lot of them are thankful to be able to do more. They're always asking, what can I do? So give them things to do, and they will be really your best asset. And then the events. So, you know, COVID put a big damper on events. I mean, we weren't having events. Nobody was having events. We had some virtual events. I'm sure a lot of people tried that. And we did actually have a great return on investment with the 2 virtual events, actually all 3 of them. Pretty good because there was very low expense, but you can't continue that forever. I think if you can work in a virtual element to your events, to have it be a hybrid event, make like live stream it for people at home while you're having the event. There's a cost involved, but it might be worth doing if you've built this kind of online audience. But you really do need to analyze your events and what's working. COVID did change some things. We're still seeing a lower attendance at our events. Some people are just like, they'll never come back to an event. So convert those donors into something else. You know, maybe they're direct mail donors. But yeah, I don't think we're back yet 100%. I think the next year, 2023, is really going to show us what's going on in the event world. A lot of people are making predictions, but I don't think we can tell yet. We just have to try our best. It's always about just doing what we think works best. You know, I think that when you constantly keep your events fresh and you make them exciting for people, they'll want to come, you know? So it's about promotion, you know, making sure you're promoting that event effectively. And when you get them in the door to your event, you know, they have to feel great about what you're doing. So I always feel like a heartfelt testimonial works. You could ask for money right after that speech is given. You know, QR codes are on the tables are working on the screens. You could, if you have like a live auctioneer, they could ask people to raise their hands to make a gift. But you know, really try to raise money at your event. It's not just about the ticket sales. Find creative ways to recognize donors at the event too, so that they feel really great. You want them walking out the door on cloud 9 and like they can't wait to get more involved with your organization. And it's about thanking them too. So after the event, they need to feel thanked and they need to know what their gift went to, like what kind of impact did their gift make. So don't let your events be a one and done moment in your donors' lives. You have to weave them into your mission and your multi-channel outreach, keep them relevant and exciting. I mean, it's just so important. They're just gonna fade away from somebody's mind if they just show up this one night and then that's it. So you have to always be asking, is your event bringing in money, attracting donors and showcasing your mission in the best way? You know, just always be thinking of those things. Don't just keep doing events for the sake of doing events. And my last tip, because I want to also get to some more questions and answers, is never let your passion wane. I was told very early in my career, and this was working for Fordham, where I was only passionate, I guess, because I went there and, you know, I could speak as an alum, but somebody told me, wow, you're so passionate about Fordham. And I never even considered that. I just like, you know, like what I do, like talking about Fordham. But, you know, now I'm at more of a mission-based nonprofit where I live and breathe this mission. I absolutely love helping these children and adults with disabilities achieve their goals. Like it just, I feel so great getting up and coming to work every day and doing what I'm doing. And that needs to show in my conversations with donors because it really makes a difference. I still get that comment. wow, you're so passionate about what you're doing. People want to be associated with a winner, with something that's so exciting, and they get passionate too. I have donors that are even more passionate than I am, but I had to kind of spark that passion in them. So it's like almost contagious, I would say. If you're passionate, you're going to spark that passion in others. So don't ever lose that. You might have a bad day, you know, something happens at work. You know, yes, we're all going to have days like that, but don't let your passion ever go away. Don't present your mission as some kind of uphill battle. It's about hope. It's about, you know, changing lives. It's about bringing opportunities to people who need them. And then once you have kind of that rhythm going with how you're telling the story of your organization, you can empower others to tell that story. So, you know, there's the elevator pitch that a lot of people talk about. It's a real thing. You could put together a paragraph, have an elevator pitch. You could use it, but you could also share it with your board, share it with your staff. I mean, any staff, frontline staff, any staff in your organization could be an ambassador for your organization, because you never know who they're going to meet and tell that story to. So always believe 100% in your mission. If you don't, maybe find somewhere else to work. But, you know, and I hate saying that, but it's true. If you're not into it, it's going to show. So your passion will help invite others to share in that passion. And I know you're all waiting to hear this. I mean, I don't have, you know, really any clue, just as no one has a clue, but I do have some things that have, you know, really been, I guess, honed in on over the last 2 years, you know, throughout the pandemic. You know, and some of these things have worked for me or for others. There's no easy answers here, but, you know, with all the points I've made so far, it's really about communication, passion, messaging, all of that, keeping your donors close, always saying thank you. We had a thank-a-thon, you know, we've done this, I've done this a few times. You can do it, your board members can do it, anyone can do it, but keeping those donors and volunteers engaged, feeling thanked, it's very important. We did a Valentine, you know, outreach last year. We asked people to give, I think, $10 to buy a Valentine for our students. It really worked. We raised thousands of dollars. People wanted to do a Valentine, and it might not be enough time. Well, you have a couple weeks. You might be able to do this. And then we didn't actually give Valentines to the kids. We just kind of printed out some of the best messages and put it up on a poster board. But like, these are just easy, quick ways to keep people engaged. And then get very specific with what you're raising money for. That seems to work. So that's kind of a newer trend. I mean, it's probably been the last, you know, 15 years or so, but younger donors want to know exactly where their gift is going. This is your Gen X and millennials, not baby boomers to some extent. So if you put a dollar amount tied to an actual need, people will respond better. We are direct mail appeals that have, like, you know, $25 will get you this, much more effective than just please give us money. People want to see infographics. That's another big thing. That's, like, I would say these are kind of things that we are finding working in the last year. Success stories always works, but if we've been using infographics, very specific giving levels. With the Valentine's was just a fun, creative thing that worked, and the thank-a-thon. Those are 4 things that maybe you could try 1 or 2 of, and it does work in this fundraising climate right now. No one's 100% recession or inflation proof, but honestly, some of these things, just keeping those donors close when they're back on their feet again, when they're willing to start giving again or giving more again, you're going to be top of mind, your organization, and not some of the others that just kind of drop the communication. And then the trends that we're seeing, and I'm basing this, I was just on a Bank of America webinar last week, so these are real current stats. The total amount of giving is still on the rise. So you have those really wealthy, like billionaire, millionaire types that are still giving a ton of money to charity. They have not been impacted by the pandemic or the market as much as some people have. So you're not seeing as many of those smaller or mid-level donors giving. So there's just less donors giving, but the ones that are giving a lot. And it's still the baby boomers. They're still like almost the majority, I'd say, 43% are the ones giving. but you're starting to see more Gen X and millennials. So there's a higher number of them, but they're giving the smaller gifts. But keep them on your radar, keep them close. They're your next generation of donors. And then new donors, you know, like I said, it's hard to get new donors. So don't focus your time on that so much. New donors are dropping because what's happening is a donor might have given to 20 charities a few years ago. Now they're only giving to 3 or 4 or 5. So, you know, you're not going to get those. Like if they're not in your network now, they're probably never going to give to you. So keep your existing donors. And then the lower level donors under 100 has significantly dropped. So you can still keep them. Maybe they'll come back up to being $100 or $200 donors in the future, but focus your attention on the larger donors. They're still giving. And then some of these like new technologies, QR codes, Venmo has made it possible to do charitable giving through now. So we've started incorporating Venmo onto our donation page, and you know, in some of our communications. PayPal's been around a while, but a mobile friendly website is also key. Those younger donors, they're not going to your website on a computer, they're going on their phone. You need a really easy way for them to give through their phone.
Lauren, this is Christine. I just want to jump in. We're in the last, usually we try to wrap by 9:55 because we know we all have a Zoom at 10 for some reason. So we've got only a few minutes, and I wanted to go back. Sue, I can still see you on the screen, and you had written something in the chat that I thought resonated with others in terms of your challenge. And I wondered if you wanted to come off mute and ask Lauren, or just kind of expand on what you said, because I think it was related to Amy's challenge as well in terms of cultivating donors. Did you want to ask Lauren?
My mind is spinning. I don't have questions, but I am so jazzed, Lauren, by all of the information I got here. It's tough because, of course, a lot of the folks that support Fair Shake are these $100 donors. And yes, they're in some difficult constraints, but I haven't really tried to give a great message. You know, like I said, so much is resonating to larger corporate social justice, you know, intending donors, whether in the state. So because Fair Shake is national, it's another tough aspect because a lot of times those corporate donors want something either in the city or the state that you're in. So I just have so many great ideas. I just want to say thank you. And yeah, I will probably have ideas or questions in about an hour.
Oh, well, you could reach out to me separately. I would be happy to work with you. I mean, I think what you're doing is great. My sister works in the prison system doing like sort of drama therapy. It's not exactly what it is, but she works at Sing Sing a lot. So yeah. I think what you do is great. It really, and all of you, but I'd be happy to connect with you after this because I know our time is short and we didn't get to a lot of questions, but my presentation will also be shared. So there might be some tidbits that you can gather from the presentation. But I think, do we have time for another question or?
Yeah, well, I wanted to see if Amy was still on. Amy had a question, Amy Fleischer, just about the challenges you're facing as well. Did you want to ask Lauren while we have a couple minutes left?
Sure. So being an FQHC, we treat the underserved. So our patients, we can't really go to ask for money. The other thing is our board, 51% have to be community-based, meaning they have to be from the community we serve. So they are our patients and they too are not in the position to give money. So some of the things that you had said is great, you know, about empowering your board and seeing other ways. You know, I've tried to say, give me 3 names of people that you want to be involved, whether they want to be involved on a committee, whether they want to be involved as a volunteer, whether they own a business, whether they know someone who owns a business. So I'm doing that. And I'm also doing that internally with our staff. It's just, and in my previous job, I was with an FQHC as well. And it was similar. I had a problem there because again, board members are from the community. And number 2, a lot of our board members were directors of their own charities. Right. So I don't have that wealthy, big, influential board that I could go to that will hand me people. And that's usually where you start, right? So, and I'm starting from scratch. We've never had a development department. So there's my thing.
Yeah, I will say, when you ask someone for 3 names, they can never think of any names. But what I did once or twice, I put a list together, kind of a hit list, like a wish list of who I want to get to. I gave it to every board member and they filled it out. And a couple of them knew some of them. But, you know, they wouldn't have thought of them on their own. They needed to have the names in front of them. So it was a short list. It might have been 20 names, some individuals, some foundations, some corporations. And they looked at it and a few of them said, oh, I know this one, or I know the director of this foundation. So that's one way to do it. I mean, asking them for names, they might just not think of it.
Amy, let's have a brainstorm together, because I know this is so tied in for you with board development. We were talking about that yesterday. Let's spend like a half an hour together.
I was the one that reached out to you. I just haven't gotten a chance to email you yet. So I will today.
Yeah, I look forward to that, because there's so many different avenues, but it can feel overwhelming. I want to get Michael Schulman's question in, and then I'll turn it back over to Tony. Not enough coffee. Tommy, to close us out. Michael, do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Yes, I will. Thank you very much. We're a very small 501c3, only been in existence 5 years, 2 of which have been the pandemic. And, you know, we are very much into gun violence prevention, prehabilitation. My wife and I like to call it. We don't want people to go into the system and then have to be rehabilitated when they come out. That's why we start with young kids in camp. But it's very hard to differentiate. I mean, you have hundreds of gun violence prevention organizations. You have Moms Demand Action. You have every town. And it's very, very hard for a new organization like us, even though there's a lot of passion there, obviously, for obvious reasons, to be able to differentiate ourselves to potential donors and companies and anyone else. How do you do that when you're just a small organization in a large ocean?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the Viscardi Center is also in, you know, a realm of tons of nonprofits that serve people with disabilities. So I think it comes down to your story, and you have a very personal story, from what I understand. I mean, you have to be able to share that story, and I'm sure you do, but you can draw people in with your passion and your very unique story. I think that's how you differentiate yourselves. And I know those other organizations, and they're great. They do a lot of texting. I get their texts. And a lot of times I just ignore the text because I feel like, oh, they're so big, they don't need me. You're smaller, and maybe they, you know, you need them more. So you have to find a way to just create the message around your unique organization, your unique needs, and what you do differently. Maybe you do something a little differently than those other larger organizations. And you can really pinpoint what that is. Infographics are another thing. I just want to stress this again. Yeah, you need probably a graphic designer or some graphic tools to put an infographic together. They're very effective. You know, people like to see kind of like a photo of something with a stat. And, you know, you can show how your organization is meeting this. I mean, it's a hot topic right now. I mean, people, it's, you know, all these shootings that just happened in the past week. It's terrible. You will get people's attention based on that. But how is what you're doing different? Maybe an infographic, maybe a very specific, unique story. That's how we do it. And I feel like it is effective because, yeah, we have a lot of competition in our space. Some of you are on this call, but it's, you know, there are a lot of donors out there, and your message may resonate with specific donors. Maybe they were affected personally too.
We do have to leave it there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Lauren, everybody.
All right, we do have to leave it there. Two quick things that I have, and then we are on our way. I just want you to look at the screen real quick. This is an event that I am hosting in collaboration with the Health and Business Alliance, which is at the Viscardi Center, and it is so if you are local to Nassau County, is it showing up on the screen yet? Oh, there it goes. I saw the little box showing up. There it is. So I'll be moderating a conversation, although look at these leaders. I don't know if I'll have anything important to say, just really help navigate. Renee, from Girls Inc. of Long Island, my friend Heather Edwards from Allied Foundation, Dr. Chris Rosa over at Viscardi, and Dr. Larry Grubler. That will be the panel. If you are a nonprofit, if you're a board member, if you're just involved in the sector in any way, you should be in that room, because the nonprofit sector connector will be there making the connections in real time. I'm fired up about that. All right, we are out of time. Speaking of time, Lauren, thank you. Christine, thank you. This has been recorded. If you need access to it later on, it's going to be on my YouTube page, which that was actually the link I put in the chat. So follow me, subscribe to my YouTube page if you don't mind. I understand if I get 1,000 people following me, it means something. So thanks for being here, Christine. Thank you for everything you do. And let's February 23rd, we will be back here with the folks, the team from over at Mercury LLC. Make it a great day, everybody. We'll see you later on.
Hi, everyone.